I just want to put out some thoughts about the Ravens-Chiefs game. This is just from a fan. I'm not any type of analyst or anything like that. So just from the beginning, kind of following it just from my phone, basically, I felt there was an issue with the tone of the game in the first two possessions by Kansas City. And what I mean, obviously, Kansas City went down, and they were getting chunk yards basically each. I think Pacheco was running. I think Rice had a throw maybe. But basically, they weren't getting any incompletions, or the Ravens weren't making any type of stops, which is kind of unusual for them. And I didn't have any issue with Kansas City starting off first. Ravens usually do fine with that. But Chiefs went down and got 7 points. Okay, fine. A little concerning the way they got down there. They were just, to Kelsey, and there was no issues with them. They were just moving like that. Then the Ravens got on the field, went 3 and out, and the Chiefs got back up and were going back at it. The Ravens defense basically wasn't able to make any stops, and that's what I was kind of looking at. I kind of made a note there, and I was like, this is not very good, because we're used to the Ravens defense making stops, and basically, the offense being able to come in, whether they just, are a little rusty and then get into the game. I just think that deficit against a championship team like the Chiefs was a little too much for the Ravens, and then they just got frustrated down the line. You can say what you want about the refs. There were some judgment calls as far as like unnecessary roughness that, probably went more the Chiefs' way, but then they got some calls as well, holding calls that offset a 7 points. So, but I really think just them going up 14, it was actually 14-7, because they got 2 scores and then we got it was 7-7, I'm sorry. So we did get a score. I think it was 7-7 at one point, and then they went up another 7 points. So I think at that point, the offensive coordinator, Todd Monken, he was just, I think if the Ravens at that point stuck with the run and kind of made them honest a little bit and playing like Ravens football, where they, run the ball. I only think they ran like design run plays. Correct me if I'm wrong. There were maybe only like 6 run plays. I think 3 to Gus Edwards and 3 to Hill maybe. And then Lamar maybe ran and scrambled for, I'm not sure how many, but I'm assuming Jackson was the top runner. I just think that Monken, maybe Lamar, once they got down 7 points, kind of felt like Kansas City, they're a championship team, they're going to air it out. And they really actually didn't, looking back at it, but, the Ravens kind of probably were like, well, that's what they're going to do. So they kind of felt they needed to just go straight to the passing game. Basically passing game and scramble, which is kind of a recipe for disaster. I think if the Ravens stuck with the run game and then did, worked in passing as well, then I think the Ravens would have won the game. The defense really had a hard time coming out, and that set the tone. Really a bad tone. I remember at halftime, I was thinking, it's probably done at that point, but there were so many times where the Ravens could have got back into it. There was the goal line fumble by Zay Flowers. Looking back at it, he did have 2 hands on the ball. The defense just made a really good play. If Flowers had the ball tucked into his body, he probably wouldn't have fumbled it. And then they're at, 1st and goal, and they would have gotten a touchdown. But I think Flowers was really just trying to make a play there. But, it is what it is. And then the other time they could have gotten back into it, I think this point it may have been too late, though. They did throw the interception to where Lamar threw into triple coverage to Likely. And, Likely gave the hand signal up again, but I don't know if he didn't realize he had someone else kind of running at him. I did think it was a pass interference on that play. I think Jackson said it was as well, but either way, he shouldn't have thrown the ball. He just maybe should have checked it down, and then um, it was first down at that point as well, so they had time and plays as well. I mean, you get a touchdown there. I think if the Ravens basically got 7 more points, it would have changed the mental space of the whole Ravens team, calmed them down a little bit, opened up the run game a little more. And depending on when they got it, if they got it with the Zay Flowers touchdown, I think the Ravens probably would have won the game based on their mental space and going forward. The defense was holding down Kansas City. I don't think Kansas City scored any points in the second half. So credit to the defense. And I understand, I mean, it's probably smart playing by KC as well, where they're just, they're saying they're up by 10. They got the field goal, late in I think the second quarter to be up at 10 by the half, I want to say. But, I mean, that way they were, ahead. Mahomes didn't want to make any, crazy moves. He did make that throw at the end, but that's just because he thought he had it open. To, I can't remember what player it was, but definitely in the comments, let me know your thoughts, guys. I think, the Ravens are a great team. I think they were the strongest team in the AFC, obviously. They were the number 1 seed, but Kansas City, hats off to them. They did a great job. Mahomes and Kelsey, they are just great to get together in championship football. I think Pacheco, the key probably they had was to limiting him and stopping him, but he just made enough runs and chunk yards to basically where they could open up some quick down passes to Kelsey and Rice as well, to where I think just down to the end, the Ravens could have made some more plays to just be a little bit smarter. They lost their cool. But let me know your thoughts, guys. And again, I'm just a fan. Didn't play football or anything, but just something I was, thinking about after watching the game. There were many times the Ravens could have gotten back into it, but it just didn't work out. Bad decisions. Defense, I'm really happy about how the defense played second half, but first 14 points by the Chiefs, I'm not really sure I didn't feel like they were getting a lot of pressure on Mahomes. So I think they were just kind of saying, do what you're going to do, but you're not going to hit us with big things over the top, which they didn't really need to. They got the chunk plays. They played smart football, and I think the Ravens just, 1 or 2 plays short of tying it up and possibly winning, but that's the way it was. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, guys, and just wanted to make a few comments on this game. So, all right, thanks.